So, welcome to the recap of the first round with Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson, winner of the Bangkok Open. Again, congratulations for that
Thank you.
fantastic result.
Finally.
Again. We're going through the games of the first round. We had 4 draws. Let's just go, before we go to the game of the day, I think, Keymer against Carlsen. Let's talk a bit about the other draws. Start with Vasil Graf versus Anand.
Yeah, that was just a theoretical battle. It was a Caro-Kann where Vichy, after his move 3 e5 in the past, had played c5, very sharp variation. But this time he had prepared something else, bishop f5, which is the old main line, but I think it took Maxime a bit off guard. And after that, it was frankly all theory. The whole line has been in mine and many other people, computers for a long time, giving 0-0, so Maxime over the board, faced with a very sharp line. I don't think he found a way to test Vichy's knowledge, so that was good homework by Vichy Anand and free day more or less for him.
We have other games, of course. Maya Vallejo.
Yeah,
What can we tell about? They took I think the first couple of moves they thought for quite a long time. I think tried to surprise each other in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a strange game. I'm not sure anybody was in book very much. They got sort of an unusual structure early on, and it felt like they both played well. But then, as it often happens in the first round, if both sides play well, they felt each other out and they found a move repetition that makes a lot of sense. It's one of those where I think Paco is like 80 points high rated, but he has the black pieces, so it's a logical result that the game ends in a draw, and it did.
Aronian Naidic is the next one.
Yeah, that was strange. I have to admit I haven't looked at it in detail, but it looked like Aronian had a very good position out of the opening. And then at some point just things got out of hand and it felt like Naidic took over the initiative. In the final position it looked to me like if anybody's better it's black, and that Naidic could even have pushed a bit further, but of course for him it's also a good result against Levon with the black pieces to get a draw after he had struggled against Levon in the past. But yeah, that was an odd game.
And we have Swittler Caruana. Interesting opening, I think. Caruana playing the Sveshnikov.
Yeah, that's an opening I know quite a bit about. It was discussed a lot, of course, in the World Championship match. And now Caruana, who played it there with the white side, adopted it with the black pieces as well. We've seen that in the past from him and his second, Kazimchanov. So not a big surprise, but it did seem like he was better prepared than Swittler, and after this bishop f6, c3, g5, which Caruana played, Swittler couldn't really find a way to pose problems. And Caruana made a draw from the position of strength, but I don't think he was ever significantly better, so it felt like a correct game, once again showing Sveshnikov is a pretty good opening.
And the most anticipated game yesterday, of course, was Keymer, the 14-year-old, against the world champion, Magnus Carlsen. An epic battle, or how would you describe that game?
Yeah, first of all, I was wondering, it's probably the first time ever Carlsen played somebody half his age in a super tournament, no? Must feel weird. He's 28, and now he's playing against a 14-year-old. So not an easy situation. Carlsen with the black pieces is 300 points higher rated, but of course Vincent is not any 2500, but we all know how gifted he is. So Magnus took a lot of risks with the black pieces early on in the opening. We can see it from the structure. He took with the bishop on c3, doubling white's pawns, but giving up his fianchetto bishop, which of course weakens the king. Long term, it's an old strategic concept that Tigran Petrosyan played once or twice in like the 50s and 60s, I would say. So maybe he thought, okay, the young guy will not have studied the classics, but it's a very, very risky way to play. And Keymer, strategically, I thought played very, very well and maneuvered the pieces in a good fashion and put pressure on Carlsen. In this position we see on the board, he has already managed to push his g-pawn up the board with g4 and g5. And the one thing you could criticize maybe is that he spent too much time getting this good position he has here. And this is around move 35, I would say, where he was quite low on time, had a couple minutes left, while Carlsen had played riskily but quite quickly, so he had more time here. And this is a key moment where obviously black is going after the white queenside pawns. May wants to play knight b6 and then try to grab some material here. But his king is very exposed and doesn't have that many pawns protecting it. So white had to find a way to use that somewhat exposed king over here on h8. And Keymer played the move pawn to g6, which is very direct, but the computer doesn't like it. I believe that Keymer missed one detail here after g6. Carlsen played h6, not forced by the way. Knight f6 was also interesting, but h6 is logical, trying to keep the position closed. And I believe Keymer's intention was to play queen g3 here, which looks very strong, because then the queen can come to h4 and give checkmate here. And I think that he missed that the queen, that had just gone from d8 to a5, can now return all the way to d8, cover this square, and the position has become a lot more double-edged, because white broke up his nice pawn structure. I'm not saying that white is worse here, white is probably still fine, and the computer still gives white an advantage, but it has become a lot sharper. So I believe that Keymer, instead of pushing for this direct g6, had two other interesting options. One is just to push his h-pawn, h4, h5, and then maybe play h6 even, try to open the position with g6, restrict these two knights, and it looks very dangerous strategically for Carlsen, because winning one pawn here won't win him the game. So that was one way. Another way that I didn't think of, but Peter Leko found this during the show, was to start with the move queen g3, sort of reversing the move order. And the point is, if black now let's say takes, now you can go g6, and after h6 we achieved what we wanted, go queen h4, and there's no longer queen d8, so this mate will be very hard to parry. So there were a couple of good options, but Vincent, short of time, went for this very direct one with g6, h6. He played, I believe, rook to b1, rook to b8. Black needs to keep this queen d8, so no knight b6, but rook b8. King to e1, was it? No, I wish I could ever remember anything. No, he played queen g3 first, queen d8, king e1, trying to bring the king here. Knight to e8, and now once again in time trouble. He committed a mistake with king d2, very natural, but sort of losing sight of this pawn. It was better to go h4, h5 to stabilize it. And after king d2, knight to f8, all of a sudden became very hard to keep that pawn. He went on to lose it, and then to his credit, put up a great fight later on, still had drawing chances according to the computer. The position deeply into the game was still 0-0 at some points, but in the end Magnus managed to ask one question too many and won the game. But not an easy win, huh? Like 80-something moves against the 14-year-old, and in trouble at quite some points. Big fight between Keymer and Carlsen.
Carlsen said after the game, Keymer was quite nervous at the start of the game, he noticed it, but he fought himself into the game and got used to the circumstances, maybe to the position on the board and the audience and the pressure. So well, I think he felt good on board, I think, and with the position, of course.
How could you not be nervous, no? Like being on stage facing the world champion in the first round, the bright lights, all the people here watching. So the only place where it might have told a little bit is on the clock. I mentioned he was in time trouble here, and I think Carlsen also mentioned that he spent too much time on not so difficult moves early on, which were good moves, but maybe being nervous and, oh my God, what does Magnus want? That cost him the time that he was missing in this stage. But overall, great performance by Keymer, which should give the local fans hope.
Yeah, I think so. For himself as well, of course. Do you think it will be easier now for Vincent, now that he had this very, well, bit of a hyped game, of course, against Carlsen here, also in Germany, and of course, now that he has got that one behind, that he has some more confidence now, perhaps, to play the other games, or how do you see that?
I don't think that's how it works. I think he has to get on the scoreboard to build confidence and also to make people fear him more, because having been an outsider in super tournaments myself, the worst thing is once you get this price tag on you that everyone has to beat you and try to play weird openings. And if you score early on, then people will take it a little easier and respect you more. So the start is important, and I think if we want to talk pressure, the pressure is still on to get on the scoreboard. But no matter what the result, it will be a great learning experience for him, and he's shown that he can play. As for when he gets more comfortable, I don't know, but I think points will help.
Okay, we'll see if he can score today against Vishy Anand. We talk to you for the second round again. Thank you very much, Jan Gustafsson.